Ever since I was a young and I was into rapping 20 years later and I'm still here yapping. Guess I got so much to say, so I'm trying to educate all of us. I hope together we can elevate. Time flies and our life is moving so fast. What's the forecast? Good vibes to be broadcast. So come and chill with me as we let the bad vibes blow past. This is Shout Out Podcast.
Hi guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Shoutout Podcast. I'm happy to inform you that we're reaching the 1 year mark for Shoutout Podcast. So once again, I'd like to just thank everyone who's been supportive since the beginning by sharing our videos, watching our videos, subscribing, giving us feedback, and so on and so forth. But it means a lot, and we just want to let you know that you guys are appreciated. Today's episode, we have a special guest, and I was just thinking about this. I caught myself saying this. We have an interesting guest. Every time, but it is what it is. It's because I'm very lucky to always have to find interesting guests for the podcast. So yeah, he's a senior geologist with the Geological Survey of India, and he had a brief stint with Coal India Ltd. And during that time, he cleared his UPSC Geologist exams, and since then he's been with the Geological Survey of India. He was first posted in Meghalaya for about 8 years or so, and just very recently posted to Dimapur. And like I said, he's posted as a senior geologist. And welcome to the podcast, Neipekreizo, or as you're more fondly known as, Akrei.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, how have you been, and I just want to ask you, how have you been coping with the heat, you and your family in Dimapur?
Oh yeah, it's been tough since we grew up in Kohima and then we've been living in Shillong for so long.
Right.
So yeah, but I think we're coping well. Yeah.
I just wanted to start off with this. I read this somewhere on social media, like a joke or something, that people of Dimapur were complaining and saying the heat is unbearable. It's like a wake-up call because hell is much hotter.
Oh yes.
You better start walking the right path,
Yeah.
So your thoughts on climate change, just like affecting everything, and what do you have to sort of briefly, because we don't want to go too deep into that.
Yeah. No. Climate change, as we all know, as we're all aware, it's real. It's real. It's very real, and it's going to affect everyone.
Right.
Not just for particular countries or regions or anything. We can feel it even here in Nagaland itself, now with the changes in weather patterns and all.
Exactly.
So, yeah, the countries, advanced countries have been doing a lot to curb it, to control it, and to understand what is behind that. So, of course, geoscientists will have a completely different view of the whole thing, which maybe I can get into later. But yeah, climate change, we also have to do our part to the small things that we can do to reduce our carbon footprint and all, and to reduce our usage of power and all. So
because it's something that I think almost everyone has taken notice of, how summers have been delayed back, or winters, even by November, December, it's still not, we've seen the change.
Definitely. And the most obvious things will be like hotter summers, colder winters, and longer summers.
Longer summers, exactly.
Yeah, and very erratic weather pattern changes, like I mentioned. Like we used to get windy seasons in the month of February, March or something. Now we're getting it
much
a lot later or a lot earlier.
Yes.
So, but I think we'll have to take steps to do on our part. The smallest things we can do on our part, and try to address the issue at hand.
So, I mean, if we do get into climate change, that is like one big topic, and I mean, it'll take another episode for that maybe, but we do have a lot of interesting things to talk about.
Sure.
And I remember you telling me when we last met up that I hope your audience doesn't find this boring and all.
I surely hope not,
Yeah, but I mean, I just want to let you know, and also I've told you this, but I want to let them know also that a lot of interesting topics are going to come up, because this is Nagaland-centric issues that we're going to talk about. Geology, okay, fine, but it's all, Nagaland-centric and Nagaland-based topics that we're going to talk about. So I think it will be informative, educational,
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
yeah, so before we get into all that, let's do the shout outs. I'm sure your shout outs ready.
Yeah.
I'll start off.
Sure.
And you can look into this camera when you.
Sure.
Okay. So, my shout out today goes out to Dimapur Football Club. More specifically, their academy, the Dimapur Football Club, the academy that they run. And so I recently enrolled my son Lucas into the academy, and he's at present the youngest, at 4.5. So before I got him enrolled, I got my hands on the brochure, and I was pleasantly surprised and pretty impressed with what I read and what I saw. Their training regiments, their set of coaches, and just their course structure sort of. So I was very impressed by that, and also I'm very happy that we have facilities and services like this in our place today, where we can send our kids off at an early age and sort of at least try and keep up with the rest of the kids around the country or even around the world. So they are situated at Burma Camp at a place called City Futsal, and it's behind City Gym. And my shout out goes out to Dimapur Football Club, Yongsen, and all the people there, and especially the academy that they run.
Okay, so I have 2 shout-outs.
Yeah, go ahead.
So the first shout-out goes out to an architectural construction firm based in Kohima called Key Designs. Okay, so they're a group of very young professionals, 1 architect and 2 civil engineers. So they have started, I think, way back in 2020, late 2020, and they deal with all sorts of construction, design, architectural consultancies. So a shout out to them.
Okay.
And my second shout out will go out to Concordia Academy of Music. It's run by my first cousin, Avi Ruta. And she started her academy back in 2019. So she's offering courses of guitar, piano, and violin as well. And interestingly, tati.
The traditional
angami, string instrument. So a shout out goes out to her.
Is this based in Kohima?
Yeah, it's based in Kohima. It's in jail colony.
Okay.
So my shout out goes out to those 2.
Okay, nice. So music and sports. I like that. Let's start with like how we usually do. We start off with the backstory of the guest, and you can sort of take us along the ride.
Yeah. Okay, so I didn't know. Well, like when because I'm not new to this show, I had time to think about it. But then it's hard to encapsulate your entire childhood, in a few sentences.
Of course.
But then, I grew up in Kohima, born and raised there, and most of my childhood, the most prominent memories that stand out would be like running around playing with my brother and my cousin brothers, my neighbors as well, and then going to the jungle with my dad, my brother, and also going for gardening with my parents in during the weekends. So those are the memories that stand out. And also I remember a lot of video games as well later on in later part of my childhood as well. But most of my memories, if I try to recollect it now, are just those, like I think
moments
I had
with family and
I think I had a very happy and a carefree and even a privileged childhood, I should say. So I grew up in Kohima, and as far as schooling is concerned, I did my schooling in Don Bosco, Kohima, and for my HSLC, my BSc, I did it in Kohima Science College, Chotsoma. Then I further on went on to do my master's in applied geology at the Indian Institute of Technology, Bombay.
Right.
Yeah. So
I mean, you went pretty fast. We'll take it a little slower.
Yeah.
But
sure.
I quickly want to give a shout out to my wife Asibu, because it is through her that like I got introduced to you. I mean, at least through social media, and then I reached out to you and all that, right? So you guys were classmates in which?
I think we were classmates in Don Bosco.
Don Bosco, no? Okay.
The very early parts of at Don Bosco, no?
Right.
But I think she left Don Bosco quite early.
Okay.
I think she changed schools or
Yeah.
something.
So she did introduce me. Just
Yeah.
said that this guy is, and then
Yeah.
one thing she said, which I clearly remember, is that
Yeah.
you were a very smart kid from way back then. So it's not.
Yeah.
I'm not too surprised of the exams or the colleges that you got into or the exams that you cleared. But like you said, after you completed your BSc in Science College,
Yeah.
did you you got into obviously IIT Mumbai?
Yeah.
But were you planning to? Were you already set? Like, did you know that you were getting into geology, or was there like it just happened?
No,
Okay.
not exactly. Actually, my dad was a medical doctor, so there was this whole expectation
pressure
around the
yeah,
family
yeah.
that one of us should
Become a doctor,
continue with our dad's profession. By the way, I'm the youngest of 4 kids.
Okay,
So one elder brother and 2 elder sisters. So there was this whole expectation around the family that one of us should pursue a career in medicine. And since my elder siblings did not,
it
there
fell down to you.
it fell down to me. I tried clearing what was then known as the JEE exam.
Right.
But then the first attempt, I didn't clear it by like 5 marks. I don't know. And then I decided to give a second attempt. But then I missed out by like more marks than my first attempt. So I just gave up on that. And in between that, after my 12th exam, I decided that I would continue with science. So BSc Geology came up. Just because I didn't like botany, zoology, chemistry and all. I found geology interesting because like I don't know, some novels that I have read during my childhood and during my high school days and all, they've inspired me about like adventure and exploration and like novels like The Journey to the Center of the Earth by Jules Verne and all. So I just decided to take that up, and the first year I wasn't really into it. I didn't find it all that interesting, but my second year of BSc was where it all changed. Like I saw rocks under the microscope for the first time, and it's beautiful, it's like it's intriguing, it's interesting, and I wanted to know more about that. And then I also got an opportunity to travel with my uncle, who was a mining engineer, has a long history at Waseho cement factory. So I got a chance to travel with him to Waseho Pek. That's like in the extreme eastern part of the district.
We'll be talking about this in a
so
bit.
So that trip actually like made me more interested in rocks. And then during my second year, during one of our lunch breaks or something, I just noticed one admissions notice and exam notice called the IIT JAM exam. So when I was going through that, I noticed that there was a master's program in geology, because IITs though we all related with engineering only, right? So I was surprised that it had something to do with geology. So I looked it up, I researched it, I looked up at their website, and then I found that I was eligible for this exam. So I decided then and there that I would give it a shot. So like previous year's questions, I would download it and I would try to solve it, discuss it with my professors, and then from then on, like the second year and third year, it was
you were into it, like
I was into it. I got really into it, and then I did well as well. And then when the exam time came for IIT, it was an exam held at Guwahati. The nearest center was Guwahati. So I went there and I gave the exam, and when they handed me the question paper, the first page of the question paper was like blank for me. I had no idea what they were asking, like hearing it for the first time. But then I just went on, and then from the second page onwards, I could okay, fine, this is what I know. It's doable. So I did it. But then I didn't get the feeling that I did well in that exam, and I wasn't expecting to clear the exam also. But but by God's grace, I qualified. And during that time, only 3 IITs were offering master's courses in geology: IIT Bombay, Roorkee, and Kharagpur.
And you got into Mumbai.
I got into Mumbai. So the admissions I just
how was the process? Because like we obviously, not to say that there are quite a few Nagas who have gone to all these IITs, IIMs and all, but being such a reputed institute, how was the experience like? You were sharing a little bit with me about, like how so if you could just...
I'll speak for my subject first, because so for the master's courses, it's not just for geology. They have maths, physics, chemistry, and the basic sciences. So they have an exam called the IIT JAM, IIT Joint Admissions for MSc. So they'll have multiple choice questions for that.
Okay.
And then once you clear it, if you get the cutoff mark, then you'll be considered for admissions. And based on the availability of seats and all, they will contact you. They will give you the admissions notice, and you can go on from there. But for the IIT JEE for BTech, it's a lot more competitive and a lot more tougher. But it's doable, like you said. Like it's something that we just like shy away from when you think about a big task, and which we know it's tough, right? But then if you give it if you give your best effort, and if you have your foundations right, if you have your concepts cleared, and it's really you can clear it. One more thing that I would like to add, for now, we have around 23 IITs now. Okay. When I joined way back in 2009, there were only 7 IITs, but now they have expanded, and like they have 23 more. Okay. And then there are now 5 institutes for offering MSc geology courses. Geology, geophysics. Okay. Both.
So you're doing a master's in Mumbai IIT. How was the experience?
Oh yeah,
you're stepping into that world.
It was a very enriching experience overall. But it was painful, it was tough, it was a very humbling experience, I should say, because up to the BSc level, I didn't have trouble clearing exams and like doing well in school. I didn't have any of that sort of problem, but when I cleared IIT JAM exam, I was like on top of the world, and I was like, I made it. I'm gonna get a good job. But then the first month was fine, because first month they just focus on giving orientation programs and like introducing you to the campus, the institute, the departments and all. But then once the classes start, that's when it got real for me. And like most of my classmates in IIT were like from very reputed colleges and all, and they were all gold medalists or like the second to the thing and all. So mostly from Presidency College, Kolkata, Jadavpur, and then I had some from St. Xavier's, Mumbai. So the professors would come and ask us like, which books have you read for structural geology, for example, or for mineralogy? And then my classmates would like say numerous textbooks which I have never heard of. And by the way, we have a very limited stock at Science College also, Anyway, but then like the professors would ask us that, and I would be like blank. And then some professors would come in and they would like say like, okay, so this would be sort of a revision class for you for your BSc course, and I will be studying about the like 32 point groups of this, and I'll be like, what? No, look, I didn't have any idea about all those things. So, and I couldn't even speak out that time because I can't say that I don't know about this. But so after coming back to hostels, I would like look it up. I would like borrow books from the library. I would start from scratch, literally, from class 11 and 12 textbooks and all. I would like try to cope up with the base that they're going through, and then in the first semester we had a computer programming course as well. I did not expect that, and I didn't know that it was there, because IITs, they have like one compulsory paper for computer programming and coding. So
and you had no background in this?
No, I had zero background on that. So it was a course on C++. So the first few classes went well. It was like very simple. And by the way, these classes are taken in combination with the BTech first year engineering. So you have to be on that level with them. No? So that was a struggle for me, because once the program went on, it got tougher. And then since I had no background on that, I had to dig like very deep for that, no? And then in the third semester of our MSc program, we had a paper called Geostatistics. So I flunked. I actually failed on my first attempt there, because it's pure maths, calculus that you use for solving all these numerical problems that the course had to offer. So yeah, overall, academically for the first and second semester, I struggled. I really struggled, and then I had to like I keep saying, I had to go back to the basics. I had to start from scratch. But then after the second year, it got a little better, and then some papers though I did well. So it's very competitive. They have like mid-semester exams, you have end-semester exams, and then you have pop quizzes, like where a professor can come and like
just randomly.
Yeah, this will be the evaluation for your mid-semester, and then give you one question, and if you don't, then that's gone. But then by the third semester, the placement season starts. Like in the first week of December every year, the placement season starts. So we have to put out our resumes and keep it ready for the companies that are coming to hire us. So IIT Bombay usually gets a lot of oil companies coming for recruitment. So I also sat for, I think, HPCL, and then for Coal India. And then Coal India,
you went on to work there.
I got the job there. So by the third semester, most of us in our batch, there were 23 of us in that program. So most of us had jobs. Some of them opted to continue for PhD. They want to go for further studies. So
I just want to come in here once and just talk about, like, we know how reputed these institutes are.
Yeah.
And so we also know about how high their placement percentages are, and that also no less with some of the top companies around the world, right? Can you just share with us a little bit about like how good the placement is?
The placement records are like really good, like especially IIT Bombay. When it comes to B.Tech courses, the computer programmers are the first ones to go. Like by the
highest in demand.
By the first or second day, they're like gone. Especially the class toppers and all. They'll be hired by Google, Facebook,
the biggest,
Microsoft. For mechanical engineers, companies from Mercedes-Benz, Porsche, like all these top companies will come. And very surprisingly, many engineering students are hired by consultancy firms. Top consultancy firms like JP Morgan Stanley, Goldman Sachs. And then they'll be hired as market analysts and all, because it's not the subject that they're after, then the knowledge of the subject that they're after their problem solving skills. Because even to clear the IIT JEE, you need to be really good at problem solving. You'll get a very limited time for solving the questions and all. So they get taken up very quickly. And even for MSc, our courses, the top employers who come looking for the toppers of our class will be like Royal Dutch Shell, Shell, and then there's Schlumberger, there's Rio Tinto, and like all these top oil and mineral companies that they'll just take them.
Okay, so you had like a very eventful, master's course, and like your struggles. You said you went through it all, but you came out on top. You did well. Your placement that you got with Coal India. Just take us through, because you said you worked there for just about a year or so, right? So can you just talk to us about how that experience was?
So for recruitment, during our third semester, the company representatives came. They had like group discussions. They had some small problem sheets that we have to fill up, and then they'll have individual interviews. Okay. So they took around, I don't quite remember, but I think they took around like 9 or 10 of us. Okay. So by the second semester, before the third semester ended, we got our job offers ready, and then after our course came to an end, we had to report to the Indian Institute of Coal Management, which is based in Ranchi. So there they'll have sort of an orientation program, and then like on the job training, some classes. So after that was done, we were sent out to different postings. And within Coal India also, geologists are posted at the Central Mine Planning and Design Institute, the CMPDI they call it. So I was posted at Regional Institute 1 based in Asansol, West Bengal. So I was transferred there. Next morning I took a train there and met the higher ups, the directors in charge, and then I was given in charge of Raniganj coalfield.
Okay.
Like Pragati camp, we call it Pragati exploration camp. They had a name for it. So I had to go to stay in the camp, like you have hutments and all, and then office setups and all. So you'll be put in charge of like 2 or 3 drilling rigs. I had like 3 drilling rigs with me. So basically what we did was like we had to plan where to put the like drilling machines and all. And once the drilling starts and they bring out the cores of the rocks and the coal, we have to log it, we have to like sample it and all. So yeah, the job went on for I was there for
A year
11
or
and a
so?
half months.
Almost a year, yeah.
Almost a year. But then like 6 months into it, I think 5 or 6 months into it, the results for UPSC GSI came out.
Yeah. So just so that the audience are aware,
Yeah.
you had given your exams before you took your job at
Yeah.
Coal India. Also, you had given your UPSC geology exams, right?
After the second semester, we in IIT we're all supposed to do like internships, industrial training. So I was doing an internship at ONGC in Kolkata.
Okay.
So actually I wasn't even aware that the advertisement for the UPSC geologist exam was out. But one day my intern colleagues and all, they were discussing that today's the last day and all. So I also decided like I'll give it a shot. Okay, so I went to a cyber cafe. That time the cyber cafes were very popular. So cyber cafe, I went there, I applied, and then I just didn't think any of it. Like I didn't think about it. Like the exam dates were out, so I was like looking forward to giving the exam and all. Then I gave the exam in 2010, late 2010. I gave the exam, but the UPSC takes a long time to
the process, the whole
process.
entire,
And then you have the interviews and the medicals that come up after that. So I wasn't waiting for that result. I just joined Coal India, and like I wasn't expecting a good result also. But then surprisingly, I came out on like the 7th rank or something in the 7th rank in the GSI exam. So I thought like, okay, then maybe I should consider like shifting my job, my focus to GSI. So I also talked with my seniors there at Coal India and some of the like the HOD, the general managers and all, and they also all recommended like
Did you actually
because Coal
pursue
India
that?
you'll be focused on only coal exploration. Like there's no diversification of
Right.
Of course there is like shale gas and all, but still
But it's coal,
yeah,
like
it's
more or less, just
it's
one.
more or less coal. And in GSI we get a lot of opportunities to explore different subjects and like travel a lot more.
Yeah.
So I decided that I should join this. So I quit Coal India, and then December of 2013 I joined the Geological Survey of India.
Yeah.
And then after that we have 1 year of training. So which is like all over. Every month we'll be in a different field training center. And then training center is based in Hyderabad.
Okay.
So 1 year of training. Then after that they'll be giving out our postings.
So your first posting was, after you obviously did your training, you got posted to Meghalaya.
Yeah. Shillong.
Yeah, in Shillong.
Yeah.
And you were there for, you said 8 years.
2012. Yeah.
9 years.
Yeah.
8 years. Okay.
Almost 8
So
years.
that's quite a long stint. First stint. So, like I have your bio also, and it talks about. I just want you to explain a little bit about the FSPs.
Yeah.
And because that.
For that, I can talk a little bit about GSI and what.
Yeah,
what we
actually,
do.
I think.
So GSI is a really old organization. Started way back in 1851. If I'm not mistaken, the second oldest in the country, next to the Archaeological Survey of India. I'm not sure about, but yeah. So way back in 1851, the East India Company that time, they were searching for coal to fuel their railways and all. The Industrial Revolution was happening, so it started based on coal exploration actually. But then as the years progressed and as more and more demands were coming, they started the Geological Survey of India to like geologically map the entire country and to see what resources that the country has and all. So it started from there.
So this was initiated by the East India Company.
Yeah.
Or the
No,
British government?
The British Empire.
Okay, the
that
British
time.
Empire, yeah,
So
okay.
it was under the British Empire that time. No?
Okay.
Yeah. So like GSI has come a long way from there in 1851. Now the GSI basically deals with baseline geological data, what we call. So what that means is like the most basic information that we can get about geology. Say like what rocks we get in which place, and what are the mineral resources available, how much is available, and we don't do anything with mining. We are not involved with mining at all. Okay, so we're just involved with exploration and reserve estimations and resource estimations and all. And then we also deal with geoenvironmental studies, landslide studies, earthquake, climate studies. We have a research center at the Antarctic Polar Division, polar studies, and marine survey, like coastal surveys, airborne surveys. So a lot of it's a survey organization. No? So yeah, basically we deal with all that and generating the data and making it available to the public. Because at the end of the day, we're public servants. It has to benefit the public only. So we make it available on our website, on our reports, in our offices and all. It's available.
So it's a huge organization, and
is.
it's also a very old organization.
Yeah,
right?
it
and
is. Yeah.
Like you were saying, like it's very broad when you talk about like the things that they cover.
Yeah.
I mean, you personally won't do everything, but as an organization, it covers quite a lot.
Yeah.
So getting into like the specific of your career, and especially like your first stint at Shillong, and your 8 year, can you talk us through some of like the FSPs and
Yeah, so FSP is nothing but the field season program. Okay?
Field season program.
Yeah, every year we will have a field season program starting from April and ending in March the following year.
Right.
It's sort of like a financial year sort of thing. So what we do there is like we'll be assigned different projects. So the first 6 months we'll be doing pre-field studies. We'll be researching about our project, what has been done, what is yet to be done, what we have to achieve for our project, and then we also look up like the logistics part of it, because we have the next 6 months will be field work. Like we have like a requisite of 120 days in a year for field work.
You have to.
It's not 120 for every project. Some projects will require 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, so depending on the project, but most of them will have like a requirement of 120 days field work. So after that pre-field work is done, we'll plan our field trip. So just last year, my last FSP was about studying the metamorphic rocks of Nagaland. So my field area was on the extreme border of Nagaland, covering areas like eastern parts of Kesiezie and like eastern part of Pek.
Okay.
So we camped out at various tourist lodges, and we have government guest house and all that we have to utilize when we are staying there. And it took us 2 days to reach the first spot actually. Like, so it was quite challenging, and the road conditions were not good. But
as we all know.
And then like once we're there in the field, what we do is we'll go around and we'll start collecting data. Like we'll plan our traverses. Like one day we'll cover this section. So we'll mostly travel along the roads. We'll take foot tracks, traverses, like however way we can collect the data. Like we try not to leave out any gaps, because once the field season is done, like you're not gonna get another chance to go back for that. So we'll compile the data there. We'll come up with a map, a raw map, or a base map we call it. So we'll collect all that. We'll collect rock samples, water samples. So whatever is gonna help like achieve the objectives. Then once we come back, we'll start analyzing the data, analyzing our samples, and then we'll write a report, which will go under like 2 or 3 stages of scrutiny, and then we'll be submitting it to the Ministry of Mines.
Okay.
Yeah.
How, I mean, of course you've 8 years in Shillong and about 2 years in Dimapur now.
Yeah.
Posting. So like 10 years of service.
Yeah.
Which would have been some of your interesting FSPs? Like if you can just mention 1 or 2.
Yeah, actually.
Because they're all different projects, right?
Yeah.
So
like every FSP that I was involved with had something like that I liked. Like the first 2 FSPs that I got projects for seismic microzonation, like earthquake studies,
Right.
in Asansol City and Kohima City. So the first 2.5 years, I was doing seismic studies. And then-
Microzonation.
Yeah, microzonation we
Okay.
call it. Yeah, it's a technical term that just to demarcate areas which are like.
But we will be touching on this a
we'll-
little
we'll-
later
we-
also.
we-
Yeah,
we can
but,
talk about that later. And then the next 3 FSPs, I was dealing with limestone exploration in Litang, a place called Litang Valley in Meghalaya.
Okay.
So limestone exploration for cement production. And then the following 2 years, including the last 3 FSPs, I was dealing with systematic mapping, like geological mapping. Basically. Before that, 2020, I was in landslide studies, 1 FSP in landslide studies. Yeah. So if I would pick out a favorite FSP, like which I enjoyed the most, it would be, I think, mapping. Geological mapping, because basically geologists are known for that, producing geological maps for everyone else to like benefit from. Na?
You call this thematic mapping?
Yeah, specialized thematic mapping.
Where was this done?
2 years of specialized thematic mapping I did in Dauki.
Yeah, the famous.
In geology we have a term called the Dauki fault, like a fault. Like a fault line which is responsible for uplifting the Meghalaya plateau as we know today. Because south of Meghalaya we have the Bangladesh plains,
Right.
and then all of a sudden we have that Cherrapunji, the Dauki, all that. Like
so that's called the Dauki
rise.
fault line.
Yeah, the Dauki fault which has uplifted
Dauki
that.
fault. Okay.
So 2 years I was doing that, of course along with my field partners and all, my supervisor and all. So we studied that. It was fascinating. We're still in the process of like making sense of the data, and we're trying to publish our work. So yeah, I would say that was the most interesting.
Yeah, I this one interesting thing that when you were just talking about, you're still in the process. So like, for example, you did an FSP, like you're talking about the thematic mapping of Dauki fault, right? Or whatever it may be. So like once that's done, you've moved on to another FSP, another project.
Yeah.
So do you still have any attachments with the previous work that you did, or that gets handed over to someone else, or what happens?
No. Once an FSP ends, like it's done.
Okay.
But then we'll write the report and handle the new FSP simultaneously.
Okay.
And then once our report is finalized and approved, it'll be published as a GSI report.
Okay.
But then the data that we generate during our FSP, we can still use it to publish our in journals and all. No? So it's a continuous process, and like since it goes through a lot of peer reviews and like it takes a long time. We're still analyzing our data and discussing it. Yeah.
So before, we have quite a few topics, and I said like these are all Nagaland centric topics that are related to geology and what you do and the broad field of geology, right? But before we get into that, sort of because I know a little bit just about geology, and then for the audience sake and for my sake also, to just like not give us lessons, but just like sort of break it down a little bit, a few things. One, I think what would be really helpful would be like just the in layman's terms also, like the basics of geology, one, and second in special reference to Nagaland, the geology of Nagaland, and just so that everyone is aware and also gets an idea about what we're going to be talking about.
Geology is the study of rocks, very basically just like what to do with rocks, but it also deals with the evolution of the earth, evolution of the universe as well, and then how rocks are formed, how the minerals are formed, and the evolution of our globe as a whole. Because if you're talking about the age of the earth, it's like 4.2 billion years. So that's
you can't imagine that.
And like in geology we also deal with dating the rocks. Like we want to find out what how old the rocks are and how it formed. And we also deal with extracting mineral resources, like how much is there, where it is, that is also dealt with. And then we also deal with natural disasters, like mitigation measures for landslides, earthquakes, how earthquakes are formed, what causes landslides, And then obviously, like we have discussed earlier, climate change, like what's causing climate changes, what's causing the melting of glaciers and all the polar studies. So it's a very vast subject.
Yeah, it is,
and
no?
I think like from my 10 years experience, like as a professional geologist, it's a very humbling experience. Like you feel small, you feel insignificant, and at the same time you find out there's more to learn. Every year, every day, every month you have more to learn, and it's a very interesting subject for me personally. And I think geology has a lot to offer to the society, to the world as a whole. Because if you're talking about climate change, I think I should mention like global warming is nothing new for geologists, for geoscientists. Okay, we have had numerous episodes about global warming throughout Earth's history. And then we have had mass extinctions. We also study fossils.
Dinosaur fossils.
Paleontology is a subject under geology.
Oh, paleontology comes under geology?
Yeah. We have subjects under, we have papers under that. So when we're talking about mass extinctions, like we talk about extinction in general and all that. So like there's already been 5 mass extinctions throughout Earth's history. And the biggest one has wiped out almost 96% of all species, like the Permian Extinction. That was way back in like 298 million years. I'm not very sure, the Permian Extinction. So like when we talk about time, like 100 years is a long time for us. But for us geologists, like 10,000 years is recent.
Very recent, yes.
Very recent. And then like we talk about dinosaurs. Like dinosaurs have existed way longer than us, and now they're like extinct. So it's interesting to know that like more than 99% of all the living things, living species that have ever lived are now extinct. So like the Earth's history is very like it's hard to comprehend. Okay, it's hard to comprehend, but we follow a very basic principle called the present is the key to the past. So what we study from rocks, like the fossils or the mineral constituents or the rock stratas or the fossils that we get, like we try to make sense of it, like how it formed, and we try to understand it, and we try to apply it to like our everyday lives. And when it comes to Geology of Nagaland, I think you want me to speak a little bit about that. Actually, we have a very interesting geological setup. Like geology, we have 3 basic types of rocks: igneous, sedimentary, and metamorphic. So igneous rocks are mostly like the rocks that are coming from magmas, lavas, volcanoes, the rocks that harden from that. And sedimentary rocks are like from weathering, when the rocks get weathered and sediments form, and like they get stratified, they get deposited and form rock layers. Those are sedimentary rocks. And metamorphic rocks are both sedimentary, igneous, as well as other metamorphic rocks that go under pressure temperature changes, and then they form new rocks. Like for example, we're talking about limestone. Limestone metamorphoses into marble. Okay, so those 3 types of rocks are found here in Nagaland. Mostly sedimentary, but we do have igneous rocks and metamorphic as well. And one of the most interesting geological features about our state is something called the Ophiolite belt. Okay, so what that means is like Ophiolite belt is nothing but Ophiolite rocks. Okay, it's nothing but like the oceanic rocks being found here on the continent. Like as we know, like continental rocks and oceanic rocks are different. Like oceanic rocks are denser. It's like more metallic. They have more like heavy minerals in them, so they're denser, and that's why they're like at the ocean floor. And then continental crusts are composed of lighter minerals, silica and all, so they're like above. So oceanic patch of rock is here in Nagaland. And how that came to be was like in plate tectonics, we call it. We study about how the continents configure over geological time. So there was a time when the Indian continent was not in contact with the Eurasian plate, we call it the Asian plate, and the Burmese plate this side. So it was not in contact with that. But over the huge geological span, it collided, and then a part of that oceanic crust was like
As a result of that
collision, it was slowly like thrusted over, and then like now we found it emplaced here. So what makes the Ophelite rock special is because of this mineral contents. Like I said, like it's denser. It has a lot more minerals. I mean, heavy minerals in them. So whenever we get Ophelite rocks, we know that there is mineral potential there.
Okay.
So we have the Ophelite rocks, and just last year, like I mentioned, I was studying the Naga metamorphic rocks.
Right.
So it's interesting to know that these metamorphic rocks are from the Burmese continent. The deeper one, the deeper layers of the rock of the Burmese continent are being like exposed and overthrusted on top of the Indian plate. So geologically speaking, this the mountain ridges that we have, the Naga Patkai ranges we call it, the hill ranges, Zaku, Pulebadze, you name it. So those are like very young sediments being thrusted over. When the plate collision happened, the Indian plate is subducting below the Burmese plate and the Asian plate. So what's happening is like the ocean floor sediments along with other sediments that are happening over the surface are being uplifted. So geologically speaking, our rocks are very young. Very young. Except the metamorphic rocks that are found in a small patch in the extreme eastern part of Nagaland. So it's very young, and that's why we have a lot of landslides. We have a lot of earthquake instabilities, and of course, like the entire northeastern
as a
region,
whole,
it's like prone to earthquakes because there's a collision happening. One plate is subducting, and wherever you have mountain ranges and all, the earthquakes are bound to happen. And
so we are. I mean, we've heard this from a long time back, but we are due for a big one, right? Like, I mean,
it's hard to predict because earthquakes. Like since the subsurface, we don't have a clear idea about how exactly it's moving. It's hard to predict earthquakes, but every day we're getting like more than 200-300 tremors a day,
exactly,
which we don't feel it.
And the ones you feel also, it's happening so like it might not be so heavy, but so regular.
It's actually good to keep having small earthquakes, even if we feel it. It's good to keep like it's good that it's happening frequently. Otherwise, though, like it gets locked up. If it's not due for a long time, then once it bursts, it's like a mega earthquake that can happen, which is very destructive. And then the last major earthquake happened in 1897, the Assam earthquake, they call it. So that earthquake was like so severe, like huge boulders were like being flung from mountain to mountain, and it caused a lot of, and it has something to do with the Doki Fault as well. So the Doki Fault, like it's a plane of weakness. Like when the plates collide, when the Indian plate and this thing collides, like it'll crumple. Like anything, it'll crumple and it'll try to make space for that thing. So all this stress and tension builds up, and then like earthquakes are like predictable that way, but the timing of it and the magnitude of it is something that is very hard to predict.
Right?
And what we did for that microzonation project in Aizawl and Kohima city, what we did was like we took instruments, geophysical instruments, and we considered the municipal area,
the main town
area of both the cities, and we collected micro tremors from that, micro earthquakes. So what we collected was seismic wave data, and then like to keep it very simple, I'll just say that like we'll know like the amplitude and the frequency of the earthquake waves in each of the areas, like Bayava Colony and Lirie and like Naga Hospital area. So we'll get to know the seismic data of that, and there's a phenomenon called resonance. So if two frequencies match, it'll amplify and then it'll make it worse. So the same funda applies with earthquakes as well. So what we can do is like we can demarcate which areas are having more of the amplitude and frequencies, and then even because we can't stop development from happening, like we can't stop, we can't tell people don't build buildings, it's bound to happen. So what we can do is at least give a suggestion for structural engineers and architects to like don't build a building with this height. At least that can be done. And there are some areas which are like too frequent for earthquakes that are happening. So those places will be like, no, like this can't be an area for development.
Total no-go, like it should be like a...
at least not for big buildings, hospitals, big no, and like any big infrastructures. Like
one quick thing that I want to just ask, because when you're just talking about like how you, after your studies, you sort of say like these places are totally unsafe and advised not to. How closely does the GSI and you guys work with the state department, the geology mining department? And
we do have collaborative works, and we do conduct meetings where both parties are present as well.
Okay.
And we do make our projects available. I mean, our reports available to the government, the state government, and we also take their help to like formulate projects and all. The Directorate of Geology and Mining, we frequently have discussions with them, and then because we don't want overlap of work, we don't want to redo what they have done, and then we also
waste of
have
time
to,
and resources.
we have to keep them updated about our work as well. So there's a lot of collaboration happening.
I just wanted to clear that up. So getting into, like I said earlier, there are like quite a few topics that I told you that I think would make for an interesting discussion, and especially since these are things that most Nagas are aware of, or at least to a certain extent know about, right? So one by one, let's just go through them.
Sure.
The first one I want to do is Champang. And so most of the audience should know, but just for if there are some people who are not aware of it, I'll just briefly so that they're up to date and also know what happened. And like we were just discussing, there's quite a lot of political that like the mess that not just the spill, the mess, but politically also. So I'll just quickly go through it. Champang, small village in Woka, bordering Assam. And about the 1970s, the ONGC inked an agreement with the government, and then where they were allowed to do some exploratory drilling and stuff. By 80s, they were full on extracting oil, and that's when they ran into a lot of issues, whether it be the landowners or national groups. I mean, our national Naga political groups. Demanding an embargo to stop, on activities that since they're not getting paid or whatnot. So a lot of and political issues also. A lot of things were happening. So apparently, estimated 1.5 million metric tons of crude oil was extracted during that time, right? And that happened in the 80s. They fled after that because of the mess that we're in. They left a mess also with all the not covering all all that. And fast forward a few decades later, it was trying to we tried to pick it up again. 2014, after 2012, when Nagaland they made their new policy about the petroleum and natural gas rules in 2012. 2014, this company called Metropolitan Oil and Gas Private Limited. In 2014, they came in the picture. Again, a lot of issues came up. We don't have to go into the whole detail, but it was pretty much a mess. They've left again. So that is the current situation of Champang right now, which I mean, we're going to get to it, but just so that the people know, this is a place that has potential. And so I first want to start off with Champang, a small village in Woka, bordering Assam, which is also still a little contentious, like being like that area. But let's start by talking about the potential that it has, and how much do you know of, what kind of reserves are we talking about here?
Actually, wherever we get oil, there's conflict. Like even in the Middle East, it's obvious. And it's no secret that our state also has a lot of oil and natural gas, crude oil. And it's actually not just in Champang. It's available throughout in the foothills of Nagaland, where Assam Plains end and our hills start.
So which areas roughly?
So roughly from
like district wise, if you'd say,
like Mon, Tiru Valley, we have oil, or I mean coal coal
Deposits.
mining happening there.
Yeah.
So the foothills of
Okay.
from Mon and then to
So basically along the Assam border
yeah.
kind of.
And even here in like Intanki Reserve, Chumokedima areas and all, it's no secret that it's there. And in fact, Digboy, Assam was the first spot where the British Empire found oil in India. So Digboy is like
Digboy refinery.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, it's like 200 kilometers northeast of Champang. So it's a continuation of that.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So crude oil exploration, like you have mentioned, the ONGC have come and they have extracted some. I don't know exactly where the source of that 1.8 million metric
1.5.
yeah 1.5 yeah that is, but it is there.
Yeah.
Like we know that it's there. And the interesting thing about crude oil formation is that since it's a fluid, it's a liquid, it migrates. Okay, so we can't say specifically that like since you're having an oil spill here, if we drill here we're gonna get it. It's not. It's oil exploration is a very specialized and a very complex exploration. They do seismic sections. They send sound waves below the earth, and then they'll try to filter it out. They process the image, and then they'll find out where exactly the oil is. That's what ONGC, the people at ONGC do. So in Champang, I think they found oil spills, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
If they found oil spills, and oil spills are the like most obvious indication signs that there's oil there. And then extraction process is actually not that complicated. Like they put boreholes, they drill boreholes, perforated boreholes down there, and then they'll wait for the fluid pressure to build, and then like they'll install valves and all, and then they'll pump it out. But it's not like you'll pump out that crude oil and then put it straight into your vehicle.
And sell it yeah.
Like even the refinery process is again another very complicated and very specialized, very expensive affair. What I can say, like I don't know the details and the politics and the legal aspects of the Champang oil field.
But just speaking on the potential of it, or
potential of
the
it is
reserves
there.
that
It is.
possibly
We have a
have.
huge reserve there. Not like I said, not just in Champang. We have like numerous.
Are there any numbers or just rough estimations of how many, what we're talking about here when we say like huge?
No, I can't. I don't think I can say that.
Okay.
Yeah, but then I know that there is crude oil. We know that the crude oil reserves are there, but GSI doesn't deal with oil exploration. By the way, it comes under the purview of some other agency. So we have crude oil and we have natural gas as well. Gas seepages, like if you find gas seepages, you light a match there and it burns.
There's gas.
It's
present,
methane. So oil, gas, gas fields, gas deposits are also being tapped by ONGC. And then as far as the exploration method also goes, there are methods that will allow you to start a borehole away from the source, and then they will drill it and they will like change directions, and they can come and tap it. We call it not just vertical straight boreholes, but like you can go in different directions.
So someone from another state could, if you're bordering,
yeah, definitely,
not naming any, but you
yeah.
could, okay.
It can be done. They have technologies for that, and they're making leaps and bounds, all this oil and gas exploration. You know. And then also I should say that like if we don't figure out these problems earlier, if we don't sort it out early, we might be too late, because now the world is against like fossil fuel usage with the climate change, like the pollution standards that they're setting, the emphasis on electric vehicles and all. So there might be a time when oil is of no value,
or very little value compared to what it is now.
So if the politicians get it right, if the working all the parties get it right, and now is a very good time to
I want to add a few things here regarding Champang, and like how, see, like we always say Nagaland is, we are cash strapped, we don't have any revenue generation system. I mean, we do a little bit, but it's close to nothing. And we're always talking about we need revenue sources, and how can we generate revenue from, and one of the biggest like obvious things that especially after that discussion we had, and you said how rich we are with our natural resources, just say, keeping aside all the politics, whether it be the government, landowners, the underground groups, or whatever it may be, let's say all that is sorted to some extent.
Yeah.
What is like? How do you move forward with and like, for example, ONGC that time was just drilling oil. Was there going to be a refinery there? Was there going to, or were they planning to? How would we go about it if you were just to envision, like, everything getting sorted out in Champang and, like, we proceed?
Yeah. Like, basically, I also don't know the exact details about how they work things out, but they'll come up with a memorandum of understanding, and they'll sort out the royalties, like how much will the oil
State
company
government get,
how much will the local owners get.
Right.
So once that's sorted out, they'll come and set up their factories, they'll set up their mines, and in the process, they will also build roads.
Development naturally comes,
yeah,
right? It comes, like, we have to understand that. Yeah.
A lot of employees are involved to run a oil refinery or like an exploration camp. So they'll need hospitals, they'll need schools, they'll need housing, they'll need good electricity, water supply. So all that will come.
Yeah.
Definitely. So
one thing I just want to quickly add is also that I think this is important about, like, spreading awareness about all this.
Yeah.
Because there's also a lot of skepticism or, like, people are cynical when, for example, they feel like we'll become all manual laborers only, or they're coming to take away all our natural wealth or whatever it is. So they have to be educated on the benefits besides the royalties that
definitely
the land gets, owners or the government gets. All these are byproducts of, like, having
of course.
a
like employment opportunities will definitely rise.
Thousands of them.
Obviously, if we like for unskilled laborers, if we like ask for quotas and all, why won't they give, right? They don't have anything to lose. They'll prefer locals, actually.
Exactly.
And then not just oil and gas, okay, like even coal exploration is happening rampantly even now in Tiru Valley and like Mokokchung districts and all. So when I was working in CMPDI Coal India, we design mines. Okay, basically we make a 3D map and image about how the coal seam is disposed, and then there is a very methodical way of mining coal, actually. We don't just dig up the cover soil and get get the thing and just leave. We have to reclaim the land. We have to go through afforestation, and then like general landscaping and all it should be done. We have to make sure that the water is not polluted, and then we have to make sure the locals are not disturbed, the local inhabitants are not.
Very important things, yeah.
Because right now, I just recently went to Tiru Valley for some work. So what's happening there is like rampant natural like destruction to nature, no? Like no roads planned, nothing is like
just haphazard. Everything is just
blind shots. They're just like extracting the cover soil, and no matter how much it takes for them to extract it, they'll just go and get that. And since there's a huge demand for coal, they're buying the coal from our land also. Actually, our coal is not very suitable for thermal power plants because of its high sulfur content. Okay, but since there's a high demand and there's a market for it, these guys are extracting it, and I don't blame them. I don't blame them. They have to make a living, and
right.
Yeah. So other than coal, oil and gas, we also have other resources like we have base metals. In like the Ophelite belt that I told you. And
which area is this? The Ophelite belt?
Ophelite belt is like from Kifire district, the southern part, the tip of it to till Wazeho, like not Wazeho, but like the
around that
extreme
area,
eastern part of Pek. Like which falls into our Nagaland geopolitical boundary. It extends into Manipur, by the way. So our Ophelite belt is located there, and we have limestone, like I've said, and we have a mini cement factory. We had a mini cement factory there, and it was producing like 50 tons per day. But then somehow, sadly, it didn't work out.
Can we just talk about this a little bit, Wazeho? I mean, not the mess. Why a potential, like you said, we have huge resources there. Cement producing factory we have in Wazeho, 50 ton daily, and it, for whatever reason, it has shut down. And recently, not that recently, but a few years ago, I think there was a proposal for even upgradation of it. Like 150 tons. 150 tons per day. So there's an issue about whether there should be a PPP or whether the government should run it or whatever the case. What do you feel is like the best way to go about it? Just like speaking as a person from that field, you know.
Yeah. See, even to set up that factory in that location, you really have to appreciate those people involved. Because it's a remote place, it's very far, the road conditions are horrible, and the machinery, the size of the machineries that they have brought there to set it up there, it's no small task. Okay, so to let that go to waste is unthinkable. Like if you really think about it, it's like rusting. Right now they're like producing marble slabs. Okay, they're cutting marble slabs and selling it. They're making marble tables and small products, but they're not producing cement, which was the primary reason for setting up that thing. So if the government can somehow negotiate with the locals and whatever parties are involved, it's still revivable. It's you can still revive it, and the resource is still there intact.
Resources are there.
And just so the people know, like Wazeho mine, the limestone quarries that they have right now, there is a much bigger deposit, and just a bit north of that, in a place called Mimi village, and then like entire mountain ranges composed entirely of crystalline limestone. And actually the limestone was of like a high quality. It's almost like we're like powdering marble to make cement, which is like also unheard of. So other than cement, also of course there is scope for producing dimension stones from marble slabs or whatever you call it, but I think it can be revived. It's not impossible, and since it's already set up, like I said, like I think we should.
Why let it go to waste, right?
Why let it go to
and
waste?
the
And also,
please.
Let me just add, like when I was doing, when I was there in Mimi village, which I just mentioned, the locals, the chairman and all, they were telling me that like people from South India have come and like they were inquiring, like how can we mine this resource? Is there any way that we can come up with an agreement? And they were suggesting building ropeways from Mimi to Dimapur, so that they can like extract it
from Mimi to Dimapur.
Yeah, and they said they have the resources for it.
Wow.
So it's like, if these guys can think about something like that, why not us? Right?
Exactly.
Why can't the leaders think about that? Why why don't like outsource it to
100%.
private companies? It's all about dialogue, and it's all about like
just being visionary also, like I was just gonna ask you about this. Like you said, the huge deposit of that high quality limestone there at Mimi.
Mimi.
Yeah, right. So I was just about to ask you, like, or not ask you also, but just say that like through this conversation we're having, like we hope that there's some people who are capable and whose ears perk up, and and some movers and shakers who can like think about or discuss about, and then like find ways to do something about it, because these kind of resources that we have, we're just letting it go to waste when like our economy is not even an economy, like we're at that stage.
Forget about an economy. We have a huge deficit.
Deficit. That's,
and then we're like
there.
Recently all this talk about like making up for all the lost revenue from the NLTP Act and all. It's possible, but why not look for other resources?
Exactly.
We have the resources to do that.
I mean, I say NLTP Act in the sense not. I certainly don't believe that's going to be the but that's not going to cover everything. But we should be exploring all options.
Why just that?
Why just that also?
Why just that? We have other options. We have other resources that we can build upon. And if you travel and interact with the locals there, Wazeho, Mimi, the people are ready to cooperate. Like the villagers, like they're ready to cooperate and they're ready to do this.
I mean, I really hope something happens soon. And
hopefully,
make the most of what we have. We're blessed with all this, great natural resources. A few other, like we talked about how rich we are naturally. And one thing I just want to quickly put in is that day when we met up, when we were having this talk, and you said, because we all know Nagaland is one of the smallest states in India, but you were talking about how that is just, like if we look at surface area, and because of obviously of our terrain and how many mountains and hills we have in Nagaland, we are actually quite a much larger than we appear to be, right? So now we have talked about so many existing wealth that we have with our natural resources, starting from gas and oil. And then we've talked about Wazeho area and Mimi with all the limestone. What other and we obviously talked about coal belts in Mon area and stuff. One thing is about the rare earth minerals or rare earth metals.
REEs we call it.
REEs.
Yeah.
RREs. Huh?
REE, rare earth elements. Yeah.
Okay.
Or
So
rare
can you
earth
just
metals.
break it down for the people, because I found this really fascinating when we were talking that day.
Sure,
Like,
sure. For rare earth elements, I think a chemist will be way more qualified to explain. But I'll just give
The
it in a
basics,
nutshell.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a special group of elements called the rare earth elements. Okay, we're talking about elements, obviously, which is rare.
Yeah.
So we call it rare. So what makes these metals so special is that they can be used to make very minute, like transistors or capacitors, which are used in our mobile phones.
everything today,
Everything
like the highest demanded.
yeah, that is today. So if we look at like huge transformers that we see like on the roadsides, what these metals can be utilized for is to make mini versions of that, which are like superconductors, and like it can be utilized. The potential is amazing. Okay, so we do have resources of REs, and
In which
GSI,
area would it be? Like
it's hard to tell. It's not just localized in
one area.
area, because these elements are also very mobile in the sense that they're very resistant to weathering.
Okay.
That they'll be carried out here and there, and like it can be found in numerous settings. Okay, so what GSI is doing is like we're trying to obviously find more of these RE elements, and the biggest project that GSI has come up with is the National Geochemical Mapping, NGCM we call it.
Okay.
So what we do in that project is like we collect soil samples, stream sediments. We don't leave out anything, even water samples we collected, and then we try to analyze the data, and we try to see if there's any REs in any of those samples. So we have come up with like quite a few promising deposits as well. So we're doing a similar thing here in Nagaland as well. So right now we have a project exploring brine water springs.
Okay.
Those,
Which area?
Those rock salts that we see. Those poor area to be exact, but not just localized in that village in Pek. It's
spread
all across Nagaland, because we have springs in like Tanamir. It's quite widespread.
Okay.
So like exploring for them is not easy, and extraction is even more difficult. But whoever can get that resource will be China owns like 90% of the deposits, so no wonder they're like doing very well in the.
So just hypothetically speaking, if mapping is done by your organization or others or whatever, and deposits of the REEs are found, and somehow with some parties, whether it's the government or like with a private company, the tie-up and whatnot, but these are being able to be extracted, what are we looking at? Like what kind of boost to the economy? Is it like, are you talking major like
we're still at a very early stage, so we don't know really like how big the deposits will be.
We can't jump the gun so fast, like
we
right now.
can't jump it, but if there is a sizable deposit, or if there is like if we strike gold in any of the remaining areas, then what we'll do is we'll publish our data. We'll report it to the Ministry of Mines, and they will analyze it, and they will auction off the reports to the mining companies. We have we don't deal with any of the mining
like you said earlier.
So exploration is still in its very early stages, like small reports of it, like
so it's more
preliminary
like studies are just being done right now.
Preliminary reports are being done,
and also we have our own issue in Nagaland. I mean, like with 371A, we obviously know that we have special rules and like in the Constitution of India, but there are some, if I'm not mistaken, I don't want to get this wrong, so I won't explain it in detail, but some time back, I think the parliament passed a bill saying that like our resources belong to India basically, whereas according to 371A, it's a different story, unless the state assembly ratifies it or something, if I'm not mistaken.
Unless the state assembly so it all comes down to the state assembly actually.
But are there, just sorry to cut you off, but are there some things like, because when you talk about, like you said, there's always conflict when it comes to oil and gas and all, because these are pretty high up the importance level of a nation's security in sense of, you know.
I'll just say that when it comes to oil and gas, we know the value of oil.
Right.
So the Ministry of Petroleum has it takes care of any of the deposits found anywhere within the Union Territory of India. Okay, it's not like once you find it, the state can develop it on its own. No, it's not like that. And obviously they will be considering shares of the state revenue also. Na? So that is there. And another commodity is like radioactive elements, uranium, for example. And we all know what uranium is being used for nuclear.
Right.
So it can be used for good if we use it for like nuclear power plants, nuclear fission power plants and all. But it also can be made nuclear weapons, right? It'll come under the Atomic Mineral Directorate in India, as far as India. So those commodities, though, those are very sensitive.
Yeah, high ranking up there, the priority list and all that. Yeah,
very high ranking.
Are
it should be handled by experts.
Uranium deposits in and around Northeast?
Yeah. In
Shillong
Meghalaya, there is a geological formation called the Mahadik Formation. It's a sandstone formation, and it is reported to have uranium. But keep in mind, like if you see that Mahadik uraniferous sandstone, it'll look like another ordinary rock to you. Like we use like GM counters for detecting radioactivity and all.
Right.
So it is there. It's reported to be there.
Okay.
Yeah.
We've talked about quite a few things with geology in Nagaland, and most of it is about potential, our wealth, our resources that we have. God given, blessed us with so many natural resources. But on the flip side, there's also, you talked a little bit about it, there's also the environmental concerns, the hazards of so many things related to whether it be mining or oil exploration or whatever it is. So just so that we are all even keeled and not getting too excited about just that we have all these resources, I think it'd be good to talk about a few environmental concerns and maybe use a few examples, like since we've already talked about these, people can relate to them. Maybe the oil spills in Champang, and like you said, the haphazard way mining is being done, coal mining in that area, and also something closer to my place, my village, literally stone quarrying in Jotsama.
Okay.
So if you can just touch on these things a little bit.
Yeah, because having a resource doesn't automatically mean that we're rich and we're gonna get everything from it instantly. No, getting it is one, exploring it and estimating is one. Extracting is another aspect, a whole new different ball game, and mining it responsibly is something very important. Okay, you have to do it at the least environmentally destructive method that you can think of. So oil spills, we all know what happens when the oil seeps out into the oceans and on land. Like nothing, we can do nothing about it, and it's an almost impossible task to clean it. And I think in that Champang area, that ONGC Champang area, the oil spills are so bad that they can't even farm the land.
Anything,
they can't even do a forest fire for June cultivation. Literally can't do anything about that. So we have to be responsible for extracting it. And then for coal mines, what happens is when we have a coal horizon, we're talking about carbon, right? So coal beds are always associated with methane, and then methane, once it's released into the atmosphere, it's a greenhouse gas. It's gonna pollute the atmosphere, and also it pollutes the water, high sulfur content. If you look at the coal mining areas in Meghalaya, the water pollution levels there, you will see no fishes there, nothing living in those. And the similar situation here in Nagaland as well, like the Tiru
area,
coal mine area and all. So it has to be done responsibly. And when we talk about stone quarrying, those stones, the dimension stones, are also a resource. We need it. We need it to build all these infrastructures that we're building. But we have to be responsible even with that resource, because Jotsama village just below that, they're quarrying it at such a huge rate that it's going to destabilize the village very soon. So I do hope the village elders and the people concerned are taking care of that, because slope stability is
anyway, I think we're all witness to all the landslides that continuously happen along the highway in Kohima, and so something that's very close to home, which is like Jotsama, my village, and the sort of because a big chunk of the economy of our villages is driven by stone quarry. A lot of people make their bread and butter through that. So it's not to say that we shouldn't do that, but like
there has to be a limit.
And the way it's done, like regulating it. I think two Nagas. I forgot who published two Nagas. They published this sort of like the effects of stone quarrying, particularly in Jotsama and Zubza area and all. So the pace has slowed down a little bit compared to earlier, but I think just like someone with a little common sense could see that the trend it was leading to was I mean the way it was leading into the rapid pace of stone quarrying was
definitely
not a good sign. The way it was,
no, it's not a good sign. And actually, like you said, we can't say that like it can't be done.
Exactly, of course,
depending on that, but there has to be some sort of a plan, and it has to be surveyed. You don't have to be a professional to survey the land as well. Like you'll know which mountain range is there and where the villager's boundary is, and like if we keep extracting from the bottom, it's gonna fall down.
Right.
So
it's common sense.
Yeah. So but we can explore for other quarries as well.
Yeah. Can I just ask you one thing? Like just a very broad sort of like suggestion or question. When it comes to regulation, say like environmental or things like that regarding mining or stone quarrying or whatever it may be, oil exploration, who are the concerned departments that should be setting like sort of regulatory, like rules and regulations, or the way it should be done, or being overseen, like to maintain? Who are the concerned departments? The department, geology and mining, or who?
We have the Nagaland Pollution Control Board.
That's one. Of course.
Okay, and then I think we also have a department for new and renewable resources. Okay, that's another one. And I don't know if we have it here in the state for like we have the IPCC and all, International Panel for Climate Change and all. What these agencies ask for is like an environmental impact assessment. We call it the EIA. So what they ask is like what activities you're going to do, how it's going to impact, and if it's going to impact, how are you going to contain it, how are you going to mitigate it, how are you going to handle the whole situation, how can you like prevent environmental damage basically. So I'm not aware of like any agency here in
I don't think
so.
Even I'm not aware of.
Maybe there should be one.
There should be, because the whole like we're not trying to take away anyone's right to, or to earn money through these activities, but there should be a give and take, in the sense there should be
a regulatory board.
There has to be. You have to be accountable for your actions also.
For it,
yeah.
Because once the resource is extracted, what are you going to do about the land? Like how are you going to make use of it again? Because once the resource is gone, the land is still going to be there. The area is still there. So we have to think ahead. I mean, I think that is definitely required. However, whatever agency has to be set up or whatever, but keeping in mind, because if you look at the trend, whether it's the ONGC spill that was just left like that, or the haphazard coal mining, or even some of the other ones that we don't know about, Nagaland going down this path is going to be very dangerous for us, like environmentally also, right? Even building roads is
yes, let's come to that. I want to talk about this. You mentioned that day to me a little bit about why we're going about it wrong. The highway, especially the NH29 highway, Dimapur Kohima, right? Share with us a little bit about this, because I found this very interesting.
I'm not saying that we're doing it wrong, but what I thought about, and what some of my colleagues and I we discuss about, is like the road from Dimapur to Kohima. It was built during wartime. So the Britishers, the whatever military forces were operating here. They found the fastest route for it. They didn't consider the hazards of landslide and whatever
high prone areas.
the high prone. They just wanted the shortest road from A to B. So sadly, we're still following that. But I think right now, for the 4-lane road construction, they have made some new road alignments and all.
Okay.
And they have altered that. But for slope stability, I keep using the term that slope stability, but we really have to consider that, because it's like, if it is too steep, there's chances of a landslide occurring. So it's as simple as that. And if you look at the road construction there at
our famous
our famous
photo point for all the Nagas, young Nagas right now.
It's actually scary.
It's very scary. Yeah.
It's actually scary.
Sorry, just to cut you off, but I just went up yesterday or day before to Gaspani, and
it's crumbling down.
It's crumbling.
Surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the road construction thing, the road alignment has numerous fault zones. Okay, like we have professors from Nagaland University that have already mapped. Even GSI workers have also mapped that. So there are numerous fault lines, and where there are fault lines, there is always a plane of weakness, and
so landslides
will occur, because
always going to happen.
Because you must have noticed, like, even on a very good patch of road, there will be like something like
a little
something
off,
is like a little off, and even from the paint that they have marked on the road, you'll see that there is some distortion. So that means the earth is moving, still moving at a very slow rate, but it's still moving. So, like, you know about landslides at that old dumping ground just south of Kohima, where landslides have been have been happening for a long time, as far back as we can remember. So it's gonna keep happening. The only way is to find alternative roads. Alternative roads where there is like less fault lines. If we have a map and if you just read it, like, you don't have to understand the geology of it. We mark lines on it, like these are the fault lines from this to this. So if we can just pay a little more attention to the maps that they produce, I think the whatever agency is building the roads, they will benefit greatly.
I think the most obvious thing would be extra expenditure. Considering that,
of course,
say like, for example, according to the surveys or the mapping that we have, these areas are very high risk or high prone for landslides, so we have to take this roundabout or whatever.
Of course.
But if you think about it, it still saves you money at the end of the day. I mean, in the long run. Because here, even if you make it at a lesser cost, you're gonna have to keep redoing work, retaining walls, clearing this road, that. I mean,
exactly.
It's gonna continue, right? So one-time investment might be higher to go about a safer way. But
another, of course, cost is an aspect that comes into all this, and like the risk factor, like, we really have to reduce that risk factor. Like, say for example, if you're going from Dimapur to Kohima and a traffic jam occurs just at Kuki Dolong or something, where you have those huge rocks that are being and if a landslide occurs, you have nowhere to run, right? Like,
it's really scary.
Cases have happened. Like,
the recent
so at the end of the day, the human life, the cost is you can't put a price tag on it. So
exactly. I mean, that is the worst case scenario, losing lives and all. But just besides that, also, like, when even a small landslide happens and there's a bottleneck, and then how we're so impatient that we can't wait in our own lanes. Sometimes 5-6 half-day jams are there because of an unexpected landslide.
And actually, this bad road conditions is not just to do with fault lines. Actually, it has something to do with the rock composition as well. Because if you see a very thin layer of like asphalt road in Meghalaya, say, you notice that it lasts for a long time. And here in Nagaland, even the National Highway Authority of India, the ones that are building, it's already decaying. It's already being broken up again. Like, they're struggling with it. Okay, so that has something to do with the mineralogical composition. So Meghalaya, I'm just putting a comparative study. So Meghalaya has a rock called quartzite, which is metamorphosed equivalent of sandstone. So they don't have it's hard, and it has like less feldspar, and it's like more crystalline, more compact. here we have immature sandstones, like very young sandstones, which have a lot of minerals called feldspar. So feldspar, what it does is when it comes in contact with water, it disintegrates and forms mud. So even the dirty cars that you see in Shillong is different from the dirty cars that you see here. So we can't entirely blame the construction agency as well. There is a logic behind that.
Yeah. So, I mean, but shouldn't have done their research and found out that
that is also there. But I think like the conventional method of tarring the road may not work. Like maybe some civil engineers will have a better idea about how to deal with that lithology, because civil engineers also study geology in their courses. So maybe cemented rock,
cemented roads, because this whole stretch has so far it's looking pretty good. Okay, so we've talked a lot about different aspects of geology, especially in regards to Nagaland. I mean, I found it very interesting. I think one takeaway for everyone listening, and like for me especially, is that we are blessed with abundance of natural resources, and it is very important that we utilize these, but also at the same time keep in mind the environmental hazards and the aftermath of the actions that we take while trying to pursue and all these activities. Just let's move away from all this geology talk right now and I think a great way to end this conversation is that day you said you wanted to talk about this, and I found this very interesting because I've talked about this quite a bit, but you said you had some things that you wanted to say about the government job and the sort of I'll just let you say your opinion about this
like I don't know, I don't quite remember how it led to that, but what I want to say is, like, there's nothing wrong in wanting a government job, be it a state government job or the central government job, because ultimately, even if you want to be an independent entrepreneur or like anything outside the government, you're gonna need the government to help you. And we do need good workers, we do need good sincere workers in the government, because because look around us, like everything is paid for by the government, right? And keeping in mind like what the central government has already done for our state, like even building our like medical school in Kohima, it's embarrassing to know that
that's
like 90% from the central and 10% from the state, 90% is already spent, 10 has not come up yet or something. So like for any job, any developmental activities, we still need good workers in the government.
100%.
So why not try for the government job, right? So and it's also doable. Like just recently, 2 of our Nagas have cleared the UPSC exam. So it proves that we are second to none. We can still compete at the highest levels, and I think you have had like many qualified,
people who've
really qualified guests here on the show, which proves like we can be done, right?
100%. You know what I mean, in the past I will admit that I mean, like, I don't bash the government employee or the government sector, but only because of a few points which I'd like to also say and share with you. Is like, one being the sort of, we are unfortunately our Nagaland government employee ratio
overstaffed.
It is overstaffed. We're all aware of this, and it's not by little. We are like tens and thousands extra, than what we should be having according to ratios of population or whatever. That is one, obviously. Second thing is, I appreciate you. I appreciate a lot of people, family, friends, people I know who are in the government service sector and doing great jobs, who are sincere, and I'm very happy that we have people like you and all these other people like that in the service. But to be realistic also, we have to also understand about the number of
saturation of
and also the non-workers, the people who are just in it for the just for the sake of having a government job. You know what I'm saying? Like, there are people, just the salary or the status or whatever it may be. Whereas there's some people who are very sincere working, and unfortunately that ratio is, it should be the other way around. But I hope that changes. But those are some of the reasons why I always have this.
You're right. But like just to bring up another comparison, right? in our department, we'll have a few officers and one or two like peons, MTS we call it, multitasking service. We'll just have a few of them, and we'll be allocated with just 1 lakh of money for spending for the project. And we get it done. Like we just have one supervisor, one deputy director, one higher above that, one or two higher ups, and then we get the approved field season programs from the ministry, and we get it done. And in Nagaland, what we have seen, like we hear about post creations and all that. So I think a lot of designations are redundant and like
100%
not supposed to be there, but it's there, and then like it's just draining
our economy,
or
what little of it
we don't even have an economy to speak
but just
of, but just drawing salary, and those who are getting jobs from backdoor appointments, they're making those who are like
trying to work sincerely, getting a
look
bad name,
no?
Exactly.
So
and that's unfair.
There's a lot of checks and balances that needs to be done.
100%. There's a lot that needs to be done. I don't think it's going to happen ASAP, very soon, just like that. At once, it's impossible. But those are just some of the reasons why, like, it is what it is. That's the situation that we're living in. But regardless of that, like I said, you, including, like, I've gotten to know you, and I'm happy that we're now friends and that we'll keep in touch. And like you and many other friends and families who I know are very sincere in their work, it's like it's nice to know that. And I just hope that the trend changes and the ratio
hopefully
slowly goes the other way around.
But we do have very dynamic leaders coming up, actually. And I think the general public is becoming more informed and more aware. So I do believe that there are big changes coming to the state. And hopefully we'll get it right. In some small way or the other. We're just starting off, right? We're just taking baby steps. So hopefully we'll get it right.
All right. Thank you so much for taking time out to be on the podcast. For me personally, I had a great experience. It is a very good learning experience, and I hope that talks like this with people like you gives people opportunities, and hopefully it affects change, and something happens for the better, and awareness is also created. So thank you so much for what you're doing. I hope you go on to achieve great things. And
I don't know if I have like made spoken any sense, but
100% for me at least you have. And we have a great audience base who I think will have thoroughly enjoyed this. So we'll end on the note of you giving the usual messages. You know what this is: friends, family, and
friends and family,
and the Nagas in general, just
Nagas.
Naga public in general.
Okay. So
you can just look at the
for friends and family. First, to my family, thank you for all that you have done for me throughout the years, and as dysfunctional as we are, I love you, and I know you love me too. And to my wife, we've basically grown up together as kids, and God willing, we'll grow old together. And to my daughter, who just turned 2.5 years old, I hope I don't know if you'll get to watch this one day, but if you do, just know that Mom and Dad loves you a lot. And to my friends, I've had friends at different stages of my life so far. So from high school, from science college. I know I've lost touch with so many of you guys, but I hope if you're watching this, get back to me. And what
just
else?
sort of like the Naga people in.
I think I've said it now.
Just like a piece of advice or something that like you'd like to share with.
To the Naga people in general, I think we look too far outside to look for validation to define success for us. I think we have enough on our own, the resources that we have, we can develop it. There's a lot of opportunities and scope for that. I think we have enough talent to do whatever we set our minds to. So, and I think the general the whole collective conscience is getting more positive, more informed, and I really hope we'll take some very big positive steps in days to come. So thank you.
Great message. I mean, that's a great way to end it. Like we're all about positivity, and we hope that some good things come about soon. That's a wrap. Thank you so much.
Thank you.